So the last year we've had a number of people who have written us either because a relative or a dear one has died in an accident very suddenly, or because a child has died. And often because it's a combination of both, a child dying in an accident. And so, of course, it's like excruciatingly painful for the families. I think it's one thing that makes it difficult about a sudden death is that one day the person is there and then the next day they aren't. And we have the expectation when we see somebody one day that they're going to be there the next. Yeah, because most days they are there the next. So we just put it out of our mind that they may not be, even though we intellectually know that everybody is going to pass away. But then when they aren't there the next day, we're surprised. Even my dad, who died this last year at 93, we all knew he was going to die soon, because at 93 you're not going to live so long, but he died accidentally choking on a piece of food. And my first reaction was, but I saw him yesterday, because we did this video talk with him the day before. And so, I mean, even that kind of a situation where you're all prepared for somebody to die, still your first reaction is, well, wait a minute, I just saw them yesterday, they should be here today, And then second, when it's a child, I think what makes it really difficult is because it's against what we call the natural order of things. We usually think older people should die before younger people, The parents should die before children. So when children die before their parents, it's upside down, it's not the way it's supposed to be. So here what we see so often in these situations is there's a conflict between what we know intellectually and what we just live by automatically. Yeah. So we know intellectually that everybody's going to die, but when they die, we're surprised. We know intellectually that age doesn't make any difference for when you could die, but when somebody young dies, we're all surprised. So there's something discordant between our natural way of looking at things and what is actually true. Yeah, and so part of our Buddhist practice, what we're trying to do is bring these so-called natural or automatic feelings more in line with the way things actually are. Okay? Because we all know that death will happen to us. Death is a natural thing. It's not something unnatural, because as soon as we're born, then we know as soon as somebody's born, we know they're going to die at some point, because there's nobody who lives forever. Yeah. So death is it's a natural part of life. Doesn't mean somebody did something wrong. It doesn't mean that they're being punished. It doesn't mean that they deserve to suffer or anything like that. It's just, the body is an impermanent thing and it can sustain itself for so long. And then when certain conditions come about, then the body can't sustain itself and it dies. Yeah. And so to really learn to accept that and to think about that. Yeah. And the father of we got a request in the last few days for help about this. The father wrote in one email today that he's, he hasn't been religious, but this is really, his son's sudden death made him realize that life is very short and temporary. Yeah. And I think that's a very good understanding, if that's something that you really see, in your heart from going through this awful experience of your child dying, then in the end, your life and the lives of those people around you will be enriched. Because when we realize that we all are going to die, then we see that so many of our petty things that cause conflict between us are totally ridiculous. If we're all going to die, what difference does it matter whether I vacuum the floor or you vacuum the floor? Why are we having a fight about it? This is stupid. When we hold in our mind that we're all going to die, then there's no time to hold grudges against people. Somebody may have really hurt us years ago, or really damaged something, years ago. But when we think about our death and that they're going to die, who wants to spend our life holding a grudge and holding on to anger against somebody? Doesn't make any sense, So when we have this awareness of death, it actually helps us to live more vibrantly, And I bet that the people in this family, the mother, father, and the older son, I bet they really cherish each other more, a lot more since the younger son died, because they realize this, because so often in our life, we see everybody every day and everybody's so busy, the parents have to go to work, so they're busy, no time to talk. The children have to go to school and they have their sports activities and other activities. They're busy, no time to talk. Everybody's always rushing around. When, you see that death is going to happen to all of us, then it makes us really set our priorities differently. And we see that people are much more important than money. And that loving other people and being kind to other people is much more important than being famous or being right or winning an argument or having our own way. That when we really think about this, then we stop and we say, human beings and animals and insects, any sentient being, they're really important because they have feelings. And what can I do to help them have happiness in their life? And how can I express to them the love I have without just kind of living on automatic and thinking, well, they know I love them, And this goes not only for expressing our affection and concern for family members, but also for friends, also for colleagues, for anybody we meet, just really learning to tune in and appreciate whatever person is in front of our nose at any particular time. Because this moment is the only moment we have to live. So we should tune in and appreciate the people in front of us, and not just live on automatic, saying, well, I have this to do and this to do, and I have to get this done and check it off my list, and I have to get that done and check it off my list. Then your whole life becomes just checking things off a list. It doesn't become, connecting with people and expressing your care and your concern and your wish for them to be well and happy. And that's what's really important, I mean, when people die, I haven't heard anybody saying, oh, I really regret I didn't work more overtime, or I really regret I wasn't more famous. Or I really regret I didn't win that win that argument 25 years ago. Nobody thinks like that. What people, have regrets for is not connecting, not being vibrant in their life. And so that's one thing that we can all learn from experiencing the death of people that we care about, which we will all experience. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. We'll experience their death, we'll experience our own death. Okay? So then, to really make our life meaningful because of that then. So often when people die suddenly, we want to know why. Why did this happen? I don't know that answering that question helps us with our grief very much. Yeah, it may explain things, and of course as Buddhists we have a way to explain that, but I don't think that the question why is really the question that our heart wants at that time. I think what our heart wants is, how can I express my care and concern and love, not only for the person I lost, but for the person who are people who are still alive, And that's why, to express our love and concern for the people who we've lost, why it's so important to send them on with love. It's like, we believe that there's rebirth, so they're going to have another life. So may they have a good life. Yeah, may they be born as people who are generous, who have good ethical conduct, who have intelligence and who use their intelligence in an ethical way. May they be born in a good surrounding with people who nourish their good qualities, and in turn may they nourish the good qualities of everybody they come in contact with. So I think it's very helpful as we're grieving to think of the person who we lost, and they're going to be somebody different in their next life, but to send them on with all of our good wishes and to really think, what do I wish for this person in their next life? And not just wishing, may they have money and enough food and, shelter and clothing. Of course we wish that. But think of the kind of inner qualities you would like them to be able to cultivate. Those you would like them to be born with, those you would like them to cultivate in their next life, so that in their next life they can live a meaningful life, so that they can contribute to the welfare of society, so that they can really spread kindness and concern and the view of truth in to whoever they come in contact with, in their next life. And then this really, it helps us a great deal. And I think sending these positive aspirations, can affect the consciousness of, our dear one as they're going through the intermediate stage and as they're taking another rebirth. It can affect them in a positive way. So I think that's something that is very, very helpful for ourselves and others to do. Going back to this thing of really appreciating things, there's also a Buddhist saying, the glass is already broken. Okay? So you could say it about anything, the microphone is already broken. I think a glass or a cup is a good example, The cup is already broken. But we say, no, the cup isn't already broken, the cup is here. Yeah? But actually, we know the cup is going to break. So if we know the cup one day is going to break, then we don't live with the expectation that the cup is always going to be here. When we don't have that expectation, then we appreciate the cup for when it is here. And when it does break, we just say, yeah, of course. We knew that was going to happen. Yeah. So then when the cup is here, we say, oh, very nice cup. It's white inside, it's dark outside. I like the material of this cup. It's very nice. Okay, clean, clear, no plaids, no confusion, But we don't get attached to it. We don't say, this is my beautiful cup. My cup. Don't you dare touch my cup, let alone break my cup. Because when we know that the cup is going to break, then when we say the cup is already broken, then we know that there's nothing inherently mine about this cup, and this cup is not some permanent thing that's going to last forever. So then we appreciate it when it's here, and when it's gone, we leave it, yeah? Because I think a lot of the time when we're grieving, okay, is we're not grieving for the past because we have good memories, usually if it's a dear one. We're not grieving for the, and also the past is gone. We had it, so we can't grieve it, because we had it. We aren't grieving for the present because the present is ending in a split second. I think what our grief usually focuses on is a future that we thought was going to be that now isn't going to be. Yeah. We thought there was going to be the cup in the future, so it was attached to my cup, and then the cup broke, and then I'm upset and I'm angry. Okay? Or with a person, I thought this person, especially as a parent, I thought my child was going to be in my life my whole entire life, and that they would see me die. And then to see, oh, that was a wrong conception. I'm grieving for a future that I thought was going to happen that isn't going to happen. So in another way of looking for it, we're grieving for something that has not existed and will not exist. Yeah, we're not grieving for something that has existed. We're grieving for something that hasn't existed and will not exist, but that we thought was going to exist. So now we have to change our idea. Our idea of the future is going to change. But despite the loss of somebody we love dearly, we can still have a good future. Because love is not a fixed pie that if you give it to one person, you can't give it to another person. Love is something that the more you share it, the more you have. And here I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm just talking about the love and care and concern and affection that we as human beings can have for each other because we all want to be happy and none of us want to suffer. And that kind of love, the more we feel it towards one person or two people, the more we can feel it towards more people, and the more it increases. And the bigger our heart becomes, and the more full our life becomes. Yeah? Because we realize that this kind of love can be shared with many, many people. It's not a fixed pie. Yeah? So in that way, maybe the future we thought was going to be there isn't going to be there. It's going to be a different future. But it can also be a very good future for ourselves and for our loved one as we send them on with love and send them on with prayers and good aspiration. Okay.